Hello and welcome to Talent Talks. My name is David Allison. These webinars and podcasts provide an insight into the changing world of work. They're a conversation with those responsible for recruiting into companies large and small, as well as with apprentices and graduates to hear what the world of work is really like. We're covering a wide range of occupations and industries across the country and exploring some of the many changes that are happening around us today. We're also talking about the longer term. Automation and the fourth industrial revolution is going to fundamentally change the way in which we work, and the pandemic has accelerated many of these changes. And of course, Vodafone is right at the heart of the way we use data and stay connected. So my guests today are Catherine and Noah. There can't be many people who haven't heard of Vodafone, but what you may not know is that Vodafone has a long history of firsts. The very first mobile phone call in the UK took place on New Year's Day 1985 between Sir Ernest Harrison and his son Michael. And Vodafone moved on from a UK first to a global first on the 3rd of December 92, when the first SMS or text message was sent by software engineer Neil Papworth. Today, Vodafone is the largest mobile and fixed network operator in Europe, as well as being the world's largest Internet of Things connectivity provider. Vodafone has operations in over 40 countries and is at the cutting edge of innovation, for example, managing mobile payments for over 42 million people in Africa alone. So a business of that scale and complexity requires a huge range of skills, and Vodafone is very active in areas from work experience to apprenticeships, internships and graduates. But before we hear more about the world of Vodafone, let's meet our guests today, Catherine and Noah. Hello and welcome to Talent Talks.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Catherine, let me start with you if I may. Now, your degree, I think, is in international business, but I think I'm right in saying you began your career in HR with GSK. What is it that attracted you to HR and early talent particularly?
Yeah, so I guess I was relatively lucky that I fell into the early talent world. So I started at GSK as a placement student, so I applied for a kind of year-long placement. I'd always been told I was really good with people, and I thought that's all HR is, so I must apply to HR. Obviously, now it's a lot more than that, but kind of threw my hat in and was given a role within a team that looked after a little bit of learning and development, but a lot of our graduate programs, so more on the development side. So kind of had that experience from, I guess, my first real proper job, and loved it and haven't really looked back since.
Excellent. And we were kind of comparing notes about Loughborough University, where we both got some experience, but Loughborough was a kind of a great university then for setting you off on that journey.
Yeah, and I guess one of the main reasons that I chose Loughborough was because you had to do a placement, and I thought I'm going to be one of those students that if it's optional I might not do it, so if I have to do it in the course then it's really going to kind of motivate me to do that. And I was really conscious that whilst I'd done some kind of bar work and cafe work and those kind of great things that you do as a school student, my parents hadn't come from a background that was really kind of business orientated, so I wanted to get, I guess, my own understanding of what that would be, and kind of, I guess I saw my placement as a bit of an opportunity to experiment and go, I might not like it, I might really like it. So I was really lucky that I did like it, but it's definitely a great way to find out where you could fit in a big organisation if you haven't had some of that background before. And
I guess you kind of, this is a leading question, but I mean, work experience is so important, isn't it? Both for the individual and also for the companies who are looking to employ as well.
Hugely. And it's not to say that, you're not going to get a brilliant job or brilliant opportunities if you haven't had loads of work experience. I'm really passionate that isn't the case. But what it is brilliant at is giving you as much kind of armour on yourself to know what you're good at, where your strengths are, and how they can be applied. You just don't know what you don't know about an industry or a role or things that you might enjoy. So it's a great way to try that out and also develop some skills that could be really impactful in your kind of near career, but also future.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, welcome, Catherine. And Noah, welcome to you as well. And you are a project management apprentice with Vodafone. So tell us a bit more about that.
I am, yeah. So doing project management, learning kind of 20% of my time, and then the remaining time in a project management role. So I'm delivering virtualized infrastructure for Vodafone Ireland. Virtualized infrastructure being some of the systems that handle your calls, texts and data behind the scenes. We're moving from a traditional architecture where one piece of equipment in a data center did one thing to our virtualized infrastructure where we install a standardized set of equipment, and then that does lots of different things, and we kind of work closely with the voice and data teams to deliver that for the local market. So that's what I'm doing day to day. I'm really enjoying it, really enjoying kind of trying out what I learn at kind of uni, at the lectures once a week, into my day job there.
So, I mean, I think I'm a big fan of degree apprenticeships, and it sounds like you are gaining then the benefit of both the structured learning from university, as well as then actually doing the real job the rest of the time.
Yeah, I think so. I did 2 years of a university degree before I moved to the degree apprenticeship, and kind of found there that when I was at uni, it was learning in isolation. So we did modules, we did things, learning about different computer science concepts in isolation. Whereas now, kind of, I'm learning it and then applying it. It's not in that isolated bubble. You're really seeing how it fits into the world of work and applying it and kind of gaining that real world experience that translates to skill.
I think that's a common theme, isn't it? That you kind of have young people who've been through that degree apprenticeship come out at the end of it with a degree, as well as the practical experience of working in teams, solving problems under pressure that you maybe don't get in quite the same way at university.
Yeah.
How about university life, though? I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of people sometimes question, is whether you are able to enjoy life in the same way that you would if you were in a full-time university course. You've experienced both. How does it compare for you?
Yeah, I think that's one thing I've been quite lucky in, having seen both experiences. I don't think they're as different as people necessarily think they are. Within Vodafone, we've kind of got what's a mini university campus, really, in Newbury. There's a load of apprentices, graduates, summer placements, and then industrial placements. There's a strong youth community within Vodafone, and so you get that kind of social side. There's social committees who organise different events for outside work, so that you really kind of get that in a different way, but you still kind of get that community and friendship with other young people.
And has that worked even in the kind of the world of lockdown? Because I know you're not actually based, or you don't live near Newbury at the moment, do you?
Yeah. So I did a placement year with Vodafone, which is how I was introduced to the degree apprenticeship, and kind of one of the reasons I moved across. So I've experienced both the on-site physical and also the virtual. So I think it's something that's different, but it's a challenge that Vodafone's really taken head on, and events are organised for us. It's different, kind of sat in front of a screen, but it's kind of wherever you're working, that's going to be a challenge. But it's worked well, I think, and Vodafone's kind of done a lot for us to do that kind of within induction, different events virtually, kind of in teams, solving problems. They've got quite a clever one we do where everyone downloads an app and you're kind of working together in teams to solve problems. So it's different stuff like that you wouldn't necessarily want to do if you could meet in person, but it works really well given the circumstance.
Fantastic, thank you. Now, come back to you in a minute. Catherine, so I tried to do an intro to Vodafone at the beginning of this, but what was it that attracted you to Vodafone? What is it that makes it a great place to be?
Yeah, great question. I guess I joined Vodafone a year ago now, and I think one of the big things that attracted me, I guess, to the company was the culture, and it being, we're definitely on a journey to get to being a pure tech company, but it definitely has a lot of those bones already in terms of that really fast-paced culture. Nothing stands still. I can see no nodding. It's constant change, which actually I really love. I always want to look at something and think how I can change it or improve it or do something completely differently. And Vodafone's a great space to be able to do that and really give you the autonomy to try stuff out, to fail, to learn from it. So that was something that I was really looking forward to, and slightly different from kind of a more regulated pharma industry where I'd been before. So yeah, was really excited, and it's a really nice time to be joining Vodafone because we're really on that journey and everyone's getting really kind of galvanised to get there. We have a whole ambition around being a Techco company by 2025, so really moving away from just that telco piece. So it just means there's lots of opportunities coming up to do things differently, which is great.
So if I was a kind of a careers advisor and I hear you sort of use the word Techco, what exactly does that mean? I mean, what does it mean that Vodafone is going to be in the future, and how does that translate into careers for young people?
Yeah, good question. I think we're still learning in terms of what exactly that means. I think what we're really conscious of is we know what we're good at in terms of that connectivity, and definitely building on that, but building out more kind of owned products by Vodafone. So really bringing some of those skills in-house to build things from a tech perspective with Vodafone, and build out that connectivity piece around platforms, around different DevOps, all these kind of fun techie words. Which basically means that we will be absolutely a communications company, but embedded within tech and supporting our customers and our businesses that we support to basically create a digital society. So a society that's using tech, but to help them be more efficient, whether that's healthcare, whether that's connectivity, and using our products to help them do that. So a shift, we are definitely leading in certain areas, as you said, in IoT and connectivity itself in terms of internet providing and that retail arm, but really building that out more in terms of having more of that customer base that we can serve.
So that must mean then that you are recruiting for a huge range of different skills to service everything, as you said, from the traditional retail that we'd all see on the high street, right the way through then to some quite serious tech stuff there.
Yeah, hugely. And I think we can't shy away that tech's definitely going to be the biggest focus in terms of the next few years for roles, for recruitment, for opportunities for young people. But I guess what we're really conscious of is tech doesn't necessarily mean you are a software developer. Noah's one of our brilliant project managers and he's working in a really technical field but doesn't necessarily have to do coding every day. So it's very much about thinking broadly around, do I want to work in a space that's going to be really fast moving and I'm going to be kind of on the cutting edge of some new technologies, but not necessarily having to just do the really technical bit. Actually, you could connect that for other people, you could connect that for customers. So yeah, there's definitely a broad range. And you know, you can't run a business if you don't have HR and you don't have procurement and you don't have finance and you don't have marketing teams and commercial teams. So there's always all of that as well. But lots kind of more and new and bigger opportunities within that tech space too in the next few years.
And of course, I mean, Vodafone is a UK-based organisation, but it is global. So some interesting career development opportunities as well, I guess.
Yeah, hugely. And I'd like to think that people have the opportunity to work quite globally, even within their teams, within our kind of UK and group base. We are a huge matrix organisation. I work with 10 different countries every day to get some of my job done, and that's some great experience that you can get really early on. So whilst you're based within your team, you can't get your job done in a silo, so you get to meet these wonderful people in different cultures and kind of really bring that back into your team and what you're trying to achieve. So definitely exciting part of my job, and hopefully something that's quite exciting for kind of people younger in their career wanting to get some of that cultural knowledge and kind of meet new people across the globe.
No, is that something you recognise? Do you find yourself working with different teams from different parts of the world?
Yeah, so my line manager's based in Portugal, so I've never physically met my line manager. We're hoping to do something when travel's allowed again, and kind of there's people within our wider team based across Europe, so dealing with them on a almost daily basis. I'm delivering for Vodafone Ireland. I had a trip planned to go over there last April, which all came crashing down when COVID came in. So yeah, it is a global organisation, and I think like Catherine was saying, it's interacting with these different cultures and learning how you do it. It's one of those soft skills of me saying one thing isn't necessarily understood as that thing, and it's kind of learning how you interact with those different cultures to make sure your message is understood and we then deliver together. And so it's one of those things I really enjoy about Vodafone, just that you do get that exposure to the global organisation that we are.
Brilliant. So, Catherine, from a kind of practical point of view, what does that mean for workplace? I mean, if I'm a young person living in the north of England, does that mean I have to relocate to be near your campus if I want to roll with Vodafone?
Yeah, so I guess traditionally, yes. I think COVID's definitely changed our thinking and our ways of working. Everybody's remote at the moment, and I think that will continue for a good amount of time. And I think we're working through what that then means for when people do want to come back to work. And I think what's kind of been discussed and thrown out there at the moment is that real kind of hybrid of actually you come into the office when you need to work collaboratively, or you need to work with other people and you need to kind of brainstorm, but actually the majority of the work that you can do can be done at home through technology. So I think we're kind of really looking at what that means. I think we might not be there for kind of the next recruitment cycle. It might be a little bit more kind of, you need to be kind of Newbury, Manchester, London based. But hopefully moving forward, we're kind of taking some of those learnings and thinking about how we can be a little bit more kind of inclusive of different people's kind of geographical locations. Yeah, it's definitely.
It's fascinating at the moment. I mean, all the different organisations we talk to, I think, are grappling with those same challenges about how do you kind of keep the benefits of the flexibility and the ability to recruit from all over the country or the world, whilst also maintaining a team that comes together and has shared values and can demonstrate them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something we're just going to have to experiment with. And I think it means different things for people at different points in their career. I think we've got to be especially conscious in my team that we've got young people who really want to do some of that meeting each other, socialising, kind of more casual networking that's just a little bit more difficult to do online. So it's how we get that balance that means that people are getting the most that they can out of roles, but also really enjoying the time that they have with Vodafone, because you spend 90% of your time with people from work, so we definitely want to make sure that that's right for the people that we're working with.
Totally. Has that, do you think, had an impact on the kind of skills that you look for when you're hiring young people? I think one of the challenges we see when talking to schools all over the country is that the kind of whole careers engagement and preparation for interview, the whole model's pretty much been broken because now organisations just need different skills. Would you recognise that?
Yeah, I think we've gone on a journey to really rethink how we assess for skills as well as the skills that we look for. So really thinking about potential kind of strengths-based assessments rather than that more kind of traditional competency, I've done this, which means I'll do it again. It's more that potential piece. And so I think that's been really, really good for Vodafone to really open up that way of assessing so that we're really thinking about people's strengths and how that can then be applied to a role. I think the fundamentals of doing a job hasn't changed. We were always a company that you could work from home and you work internationally with people across teams, so actually this tech has always been a part of that. I think how I'm reflecting on it and seeing it is maybe a little bit more around that resilience piece, how to kind of balance that work and life and making sure you still do that. And also how you network in an organisation like Vodafone where networks are really important. We're in the network business, but actually internally those networks are so valuable. How you navigate that virtually is really different, and I think quite difficult for someone who maybe is first job outside of school or first job outside of uni. So I think definitely that resilience, well-being piece, but also kind of how you meet people, how you maintain relationships in just a really different environment. I think we're definitely looking for people who, I guess, experiment with that and are happy to kind of try different things and see what works for them and kind of go with that change and be comfortable with that.
And Noah, how have you found the transition to working from home? You've experienced both? Has it worked out okay?
Yeah, it was a very sudden transition. I mean, we when the first rumblings were there, the business was preparing. We did a kind of trial day from home where our whole team was based from home, and then obviously the lockdown came in and we were all working from home. I think Catherine's kind of picked up on some of those challenges there. One is just networking. It is that kind of casual interaction that was great for building your network, and kind of when we were discussing different things, that's one of my questions for people is how do you network virtually? Kind of what are your techniques? What are your tactics? Something that we introduced within our team was a virtual coffee, and so once a month we get paired with someone else from the wider team just to kind of have a half an hour chat with, kind of get to know people, and that's given me exposure to people I wouldn't necessarily have spoken to before, and it's just these little things that take up a little bit of time where we've kind of adapted to meet the challenges that we're facing.
That's a really good idea. I shall steal that one totally. Thank you very much indeed. So, Catherine, thinking then about kind of the routes into Vodafone. Firstly, I guess in terms of scale, it's a big organisation. So, what are the kind of numbers that you recruit for each year?
Yeah, so I guess our graduate kind of Discover programme is our biggest. We have kind of two arms of the business within the UK. We have Vodafone UK and Vodafone Group. So together, it's about 160 to 180 a year in terms of graduates, and that's across all functions, but the biggest function of that being tech. Then, of course, we have our school leaver apprenticeship programme, which combined is about 80 to 100 each year, but very much more focused on tech. So we have majority of our opportunities sitting either in technical roles or in roles like NOAs, where you're still working in tech but don't necessarily need that kind of computer science background. And then we also have kind of placements, so summer placements and industrial placements, particularly within Vodafone Group. They're smaller numbers at the moment, so I guess around 40 to 50 across all of that. But they are such a great feeder onto our programmes that I'm sure we're gonna look to increase those numbers. So yeah.
Great. And then if I wanted to apply, what is the recruitment process? What are the different stages I need to go through?
Yeah, well, I think hopefully music to candidates' ears, it's not a long one, so we've done that really purposefully. So it's just a quick kind of tell me your details kind of form, and then a kind of digital video assessment and assessment of kind of skills through some games. So the video piece is very much just telling us a little bit about the experience that people have had, a little bit about what if you were going to do this, talk me through that. So some kind of one-way interview questions, and then some games just to test that logical thinking. That's only about 25 minutes, and then based on how candidates do there, they'll come through to an assessment centre. So we completely changed our assessment centre. COVID kind of fueled that, but it was going to happen anyway. So we've got a fully virtual assessment centre that's not going to change, but we've got a fab new platform, and very much changed our way of assessing, as I mentioned, to really look at kind of future potential. So
that's interesting actually for you then. This COVID world has fundamentally changed your assessment process. You're not going to go back to the old-fashioned way, as it were, of running assessment centres.
Yeah, no, I mean, this year was a bit of a trial, and we were like, is it going to work?
Yeah.
We launched it globally, so all of our markets that hire young kind of talent into the business are all using this platform, and it has just gone so well that we couldn't possibly really go back. I think we need to think about how we then get people maybe into the office once they have offers, to get them really excited about what's going to happen, and so they get a little bit of a sense of that kind of culture and the kind of bigger picture of Vodafone. But yeah, that assessment centre piece and kind of where we're making hiring decisions will stay virtual.
And do you think that has any impact for the kind of the preparation that young people and their careers advisors would need to do when thinking about Vodafone? Because it does strike me that the skills that you're going to need to have are going to be different to, if you like, the old-fashioned way of physical meetings.
Yes and no for me. I think a kind of video interview where you've got someone talking like we are is no different than if you meet them in person. I think you just have to be, I guess, more conscious of how you use your time, either before or after. You get less of that walk to the office or walk to wherever you're going where you can ask some of those questions. So it's really making sure you're using the time that you have within that assessment process to get all the questions out that you have, because it's such a huge decision, but we can't have kind of endless amounts of time to ask those questions. So really using that time when you're with people like managers or people that are assessing you. But I think skills wise, it's still about how do you articulate your strengths, and that hasn't changed from being kind of physical or non-physical. The best candidates we see are actually really motivated and know why they want to work at a company like Vodafone, know what their skills are, know what their development areas are, and are kind of confident to relay that. And I don't think that's fundamentally changed, but I think in terms of prep, it's you need to prep. I think a lot of people are thinking that it's maybe shorter assessments and you've got a little bit more leniency. That's not the case. The more researched you are in what you're going to be doing or what you think you're going to be doing, and the more kind of insight you have, the better you'll do. Because what you're seeing as a bit of a trend in recruitment is a lot of what we'll ask you to do is some of the kinds of stuff that we might ask you to do in role. So we need you to understand the business a little bit to be able to do your best with that.
Noah, how was the application process then from the other side? What did you make of it?
Yeah, so I did the video interview and thought that was it. I wasn't going to get a job. I did it and really, I think I saw some of it back and thought, what did I say? And just really got inside my head. And then was really surprised when I got invited to an assessment centre, but really glad I did. And so then came to the assessment centre and really enjoyed it. It was a really good day, kind of speed networking, meeting some of the managers. I actually met my manager, or one of my managers there at the day. He remembered me when I came back to the business. And then the skills-based interview that Catherine was talking about was one I really enjoyed. It wasn't kind of a interrogation. It was kind of that open discussion where I could just relay kind of what I enjoyed doing. A lot of the skills Vodafone was looking for, I was passionate about kind of those teamwork, problem solving, all of that kind of from my experience I could just chat about and really enjoy. And I think like Kat said, it's kind of understanding where your own flaws are, or not flaws, development areas, and being able to say, this is what I think I don't necessarily do as well, and this is my action plan of what I need to do to get better. And being able to display that, I think, is just really important. But I came away enjoying it. I came away having enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I thought I'd kind of come away like I did from the video interview going, oh no, I didn't get the job. But I came away excited and going, I really hope I get that offer. And yeah.
So Catherine, you're not looking for somebody then who is the finished article. Actually, the ability to identify where you need to improve sounds like it's pretty important as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess that's kind of echoing what I said around you don't need to have loads of work experience in something you're applying for somewhere that's going to give you that experience. It's more, as much as you can know about a company, if you're genuinely excited to work for us, that's going to come across brilliant. And just being really honest and self-aware of kind of who you are, what you're great at, how that then helps the team that you're going to go into. That's a brilliant trait to have so early on. So we're definitely looking at that self-awareness. And I think, of course we have to be really objective. So it's all the same kind of assessment. It's all based on our values and our spirit behaviours. But yeah, definitely that self-awareness is going to help, because we're not, we're going to give you 90% of the work learning, but we still need you to have some of those skills and that excitement to really dive in and do your best and try and fail fantastically and learn from it. So yeah, self-awareness is a big one.
Brilliant. So for those young people who'd like to find out more, where should they go to start finding out about Vodafone and getting that excitement for when they apply?
Yeah, so definitely the website. So it's got lots of information about our different programs, but we also have kind of invested in a digital platform called Connector, where people can kind of log in, kind of do some modular learning about Vodafone or our different programs. But there's also digital mentors. So if you had a question and you're like, oh, I want to apply to an apprenticeship, you can ask an actual apprentice and they will get back to you. So a really nice way to ask any of those questions that you might have. And I would always encourage people to look at things like social media. Vodafone does so much. I still learn new things every day that really surprise me. So actually looking at things like our Twitter or LinkedIn or things like that to really get some of those news articles and kind of expand your knowledge about what the business does is always a brilliant kind of secondary piece. But particularly about programs, it's very much kind of website and then any events that we're doing as well.
So Noah, any top tips from you? You're so successful. How did you do your research?
Yeah, so it's like on the website has a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of videos where there are apprentices and different things. I think the Instagram platform's a great one to be on. There's takeovers by apprentices, graduates that kind of give you an insight into what a day looks like, and gives that insight. And yeah, I think the website was a key one for me for kind of finding some of that information out. I think just coming to the assessment centre, a lot of information there was given that just kind of excited me on the day and kind of really got that passion going then.
Brilliant. So last question, Catherine, then about timing, because I know that all sorts of different companies, and particularly if you think about degree apprenticeships rather than degrees, timing's all over the place. When does somebody need to be coming to your website and hitting the apply button?
Yeah, so for kind of internships and graduate programs, it's September time, and I would definitely recommend kind of looking and applying early. We often close early because we get lots of brilliant applications, so if there's something that you're interested in, definitely throw your hat in, do that first form. It takes 5 minutes and then you're in the process. Apprenticeships is slightly later, so we usually open around December time, so everything will be kind of on the website and ready then, to then assess a little bit after into the new year.
So now it's time to be thinking about then, that'll be join us in 2022. That'll be, the planning needs to start now so that you can hit the application button at the right moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, we'll obviously put a link to the to those sites on the Get My First Job website as well. Catherine and Noah, thank you so much indeed. It's been really great to talk to you and to find out a little bit more about the world of Vodafone. It sounds fantastic. And finally, thank you to everybody else for joining this Talent Talk. And next time we will be meeting the Rural Payment Agency and hearing from their Director of Organisational Capability, Jake McClure, about the opportunities that exist within that very different environment. So thank you very much indeed, and see you next time.